Welcome back to the deep dive, where we try to cut through all the noise to bring you some unexpected wisdom from some pretty unusual places.
Today is definitely unusual.
Definitely. Today we are on let's call it an intellectual journey. It's all driven by this one really ambitious idea, how to get what the author calls the legend mind.
That's right. We're diving into excerpts from a book called The Legend Mind, Zero to Infinity. The author is the SKR, Sonu Kumar. And I have to say, this is not your typical self-help book. Not at all.
No, it's more like a quest, a highly structured quest for wisdom, and it kicks off with this really profound spiritual declaration.
It really does. I mean, the context is set immediately.
Okay, let's just jump right in and unpack that intensity. The spiritual scaffolding here it's immediate and it's powerful. Our sources are just steeped in this repeated invocation. JIIGRUDEEV.
Which is a phrase, for honoring the divine teacher.
Exactly. And the book is dedicated to the author's immortal guru, the Lord Shiva. So right from the cover, this tells you we're dealing with a text that sees success, mental clarity. It sees them as completely tied to spiritual discipline. You can't separate them.
You really can't. And the title itself, The Legend Mind, it's not just a cool name. It's a deep statement, a concept that really frames the author's whole ambition.
And it's an acronym, LEGEND.
Right. It's defined as L, legacy, E, even G, God E, and N, not D, demons.
Okay, let's just pause there for a second.
Yeah.
That is an extraordinary claim. I mean, he's positioning this legend mind concept as something that creates a legacy so profound, so influential, that it somehow exists, outside of the normal rules of creation and destruction.
It seems so. Beyond God, beyond demons.
Yeah.
It suggests a level of self-mastery that's frankly not on a human scale.
It sets the bar incredibly high.
It absolutely does. And if you thought that was ambitious, just wait until you hear about the research methodology.
Yeah.
This isn't just, navel-gazing philosophy. The author claims an interdisciplinary approach across a staggering number of fields.
This is where it gets really fascinating for me. Forget just pulling from other books. We're talking about a synthesis of science, math, religious texts, idioms, physics.
And number-eology.
Right, numberology, which I think we can guess is some form of numerical analysis or numerology, but it doesn't stop there.
No. Add cosmology, geography, and, his words, many more discipline.
So he's trying to build a universal theory of self-improvement by pulling data from every possible structure of reality, from a single number to the entire universe.
It's an intellectual fusion project for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The stated goal from the preface is to give you an eye-opening book if you want to do great work in their own life. And the key is understanding mind power to get to what he calls the enlightened process.
It suggests that all knowledge, if you can just synthesize it correctly, leads you to mastering yourself.
That's the idea.
So our mission for this deep dive, then, is to drill down from that infinity of data and focus on one very structured, very actionable step. We're going straight to Chapter 6, Think Like a Monks.
And this chapter really offers a blueprint for internal balance, for clarity, and ultimately for self-empowerment.
Yeah.
And it's designed specifically for you, the listener, trying to navigate this chaotic modern world.
All right, before we dive in and, put on our metaphorical robes to think like a monk, we need to understand where this chapter actually sits in the bigger picture.
The architecture of the legend mind.
Exactly. And the table of contents is massive, but it's organized with this real intentional rigor.
It all starts with what the author calls Unit Zero. These are the non-negotiables, the foundations. You can't skip this part.
So what's in Unit 0?
It's all about the prerequisites for any self-improvement. Things like mapping the mind's origin or its evolution. Then there's climbing the ladder toward wisdom. Establishing attitude is the key to success. And this one's crucial. Mastering the difference between information vs. knowledge.
That sounds like the pre-flight checklist.
It is.
You can't fly like a legend until you actually understand the mechanics of your own mind. So once you've got those foundations down, you move into the practical phase, which is Unit 1. And that's where we are today.
Exactly. Unit 1 is called 10 Shades of the Legend. This is where the real instruction begins. The unit details 10 different roles, or shades as he calls them, that the aspiring legend has to observe, analyze, and then strategically adopt parts of.
It's like an intellectual casting call. The idea is for you to observe the best of humanity. So you're learning to view like a kid, listen like a leader,
Speak like a politician, lead like a legend.
and even worship like a devotee. And of course, the one we're focused on, Chapter 6, Thinking Like a Monk.
And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale of this author's vision, We should probably mention where this all goes after you master these human roles.
It gets pretty wild.
It jumps immediately into these huge cosmological subjects. Unit 2 covers the origin of universe, I theory, and the parallel universe, bead theory. Then Unit 3 is about global organization, the 5 diamonds of nations in Earth.
So the path is start with yourself, master your mind, then scale up to understanding the origin of reality, and then finish by understanding global structure. It's an overwhelming ambition.
It really is. But let's bring it back to Unit 1 and how you're supposed to actually use these shades.
Right, the mechanisms.
What's fascinating is how selective the process is.
Yeah.
The legend is supposed to watch all these perfections, and there's an interesting note that the God role is something they've only seen on television.
Huh.
And then the legend picks the central activity of each one to integrate into their own life.
So that's a critical distinction. It's not about you becoming a full-time politician or a monk. It's about extracting the distilled essential skill, the core mindset that makes that role effective. It's like the ultimate method-acting approach to life, but you only borrow the single most powerful tool from each toolbox.
It's all about cognitive efficiency. The unit's purpose is explicitly to teach you how to master in different profession in one life. And the key ingredient that allows for this rapid, multifaceted mastery is how you prioritize time.
Time, the one resource you can't get more of. How does he frame time as a teacher?
He calls time another form of supreme guru in mega universe.
Wow.
So it elevates time beyond just, seconds on a clock. If you want to master multiple skills efficiently, like these 10 shades of man, you have to be absolutely ruthless with your focus, your purpose, your practice. Time itself becomes your guide by forcing you to be efficient.
And the monastic lesson, which we're about to get into, is probably the ultimate lesson in using your time intentionally.
That's the perfect transition. The intro to Unit 1 literally invites us to take deep swim over this Unit 1.
To fully immerse ourselves. So let's do it. Let's start our deep swim and plunge into the structured mindset of the monk.
Okay, Chapter 6.
So we arrive at thinking like a monk. Now, the chapter right before this was View Like a Kid, which was all about stripping away the clutter of adult complexity. The monk's perspective feels like the next logical step.
It is. It's about building a new, intentional structure on that foundation you just cleared.
Absolutely. The source describes the monk's view as a mindset built on a foundation of intentional practice, discipline, and a deep understanding of human nature.
Right. So a child's innocence is natural, it's just there. But the monk's wisdom is cultivated. It's earned through really systematic effort.
Okay, let's start with the first pillar. This is a concept everyone knows, but I think it's perpetually misunderstood, especially today. It's detachment.
Pillar 1. Practice detachment to lead your life in best ways.
I think when most of us hear detachment, you immediately picture, an ascetic on a mountaintop who's abandoned everything.
Family, job, all of it.
Right. But the author gives this crucial distinction that makes it actually applicable to a busy modern life.
He does. The source defines detachment as freedom from 3 specific things: worldly possessions, outcomes, and this is the most important one, one's own ego.
And the clarification is key. It does not mean you have to give away all your stuff.
Exactly. It's about performing an internal audit, making sure that your belongings don't define you or control your happiness.
That shifts the whole focus. It's not about external renunciation, it's about internal liberation. It's recognizing that in our consumer culture, our possessions often end up owning us.
They do. We spend so much energy protecting them, upgrading them, worrying about losing them.
So the wisdom nugget here, as the text puts it, is that your inner peace should not dependent on external circumstances. It anchors your security and your happiness inside you.
And if your identity and your peace are coming from within, then external forces, losing a job, a market downturn, someone insulting you online, they can't fundamentally shake you.
Okay, but how does this work in practice? Let's say I'm working on a huge project at work. I want that promotion. How do I stay detached from the outcome while still giving it my absolute best effort? It feels like a paradox.
It is a beautiful paradox, isn't it? The practical result of this kind of detachment is that you can act from a place of clarity and purpose rather than from fear or desire.
Okay, break that down.
If you're working purely from desire, for the bonus, for the praise, your actions are all filtered through anxiety about getting it. But if you're detached from that outcome, you can focus 100% of your energy on the quality of the work itself.
So you perform better.
You engage neutrally, intensely, and much more effectively.
Okay, so if detachment gives you that internal calm, the second pillar gives you the space you need to actually hear it.
Right. Pillar 2. Embrace stillness and solitude in whole life. This one directly tackles the constant noise distraction we all face. It's the radical act of just turning inward.
The source explains that the purpose here isn't to avoid people, but to actively turn inward to listen to the whispers of one's own mind and spirit. It suggests wisdom isn't something that's shouted at you from the outside world.
No, wisdom often comes in moments of quiet reflection, and this is where the monk's path directly confronts what's often called the monkey mind.
The monkey mind, that internal voice that's just constantly chattering, anxious, planning, judging. It never stops.
And it is the ultimate time waster. It's always dragging you into the past with regret or rocketing you into the future with worry. It prevents you from just being present.
So the monk's mindset says you have to tame that chatter.
You do.
Yeah.
And the practical steps are actually simple, but they're incredibly powerful. Just dedicating time for solitude. It could be meditation, quiet work, or literally just sitting in silence for a few minutes.
And that creates the space you need to process thoughts, understand your emotions, and connect with a deeper sense of self.
Exactly. It's in that space that your actual truth can bubble up. Without stillness, detachment is basically impossible because you're still attached to the noise inside your own head.
Okay, moving on. Pillar 3. This feels like the engine that keeps the whole system running, especially when it's hard to maintain.
It is. Pillar 3. Cultivate patience and discipline in life. And we have to challenge this idea that discipline is about punishment or being rigid. In this context, discipline is actually freedom.
Right. The author makes a point to say that even though monastic life is built on routine, it's not rigidity. It's about creating habits that serve a higher purpose.
And that purpose is cultivating the wisdom and self-mastery we've been talking about. This pillar is a direct assault on our modern culture of instant gratification.
Because the monk understands a basic truth about human development. True growth, whether it's intellectual or spiritual, takes time and consistent effort.
You have to be patient, not just with the process, but with yourself, with your own rate of learning.
So how does the author define discipline in a way that feels, supportive instead of restrictive? Because I think a lot of people start a new habit, they mess up once, and they feel like a total failure.
He gives this wonderfully compassionate definition. Discipline is the gentle, consistent act of showing up for your own growth, even on days when it's difficult.
Gentle. I like that.
The word gentle is key. It emphasizes consistency over these dramatic, unsustainable bursts of effort. It's the daily ritual that matters, way more than some fleeting feeling of motivation.
So the habits he lists, daily meditation, journaling, just being more mindful, these are the tangible ways you keep that engine running. You just show up whether you feel like it or not.
It's the difference between relying on inspiration and relying on a system.
Okay, so the first 3 pillars were all about internal mastery. The fourth one shifts the focus outward.
It does. Pillar 4, focus on service to all living world.
This is where we get into the idea of seva. The text says that you find purpose not in what you get for yourself, but in what we give to others.
Seva, yeah. Selfless service. It's a core idea in so many traditions. And this psychological shift is so important. When you redirect your energy toward compassion and contribution, you sidestep the trap of always seeking external validation.
Which, as we already established, is the enemy of detachment.
Exactly. And the wisdom here is recognizing that we're all interconnected. The realization that our well-being is deeply connected to the well-being of those around us.
So by serving others, you're not just improving the world, you're finding this deep external source of meaning that, frankly, ego-driven success just can't provide.
If detachment gives you the clarity and discipline gives you the consistency, service gives you the meaning. They all have to work together.
And that brings us to the 5th and final pillar. This one acts like the quality control filter for everything else. And I would argue this is probably the most critical skill for anyone listening who is trying to navigate the information chaos of the 21st century.
I agree. Pillar 5, learn to discern.
The monk's life is all about filtering reality, discerning what is true, what is valuable, and what merely a distraction is.
It has to be. Because once you achieve some detachment and stillness, the outside world is going to try even harder to get your attention back.
And this requires some deep internal analysis, doesn't it? It means questioning your own thoughts, your own motivations before you act.
It demands a constant internal audit to make sure that every decision is aligned with your deepest values. And the author is clear, this isn't about being harsh or judgmental. It's about thoughtful consideration.
It's applying logic and your internal values to all the stuff coming at you from the outside.
Right. So the discernment pillar is the mechanism you use to distinguish between the temporary and eternal.
What's the temporary in this context?
The temporary is the fleeting stuff, the noise, the social media outrage of the day, a fear-based decision about your finances, the sudden desire for something you don't need. The eternal's your core purpose, your values, the lasting truth you've cultivated with the other four pillars.
So discernment is just the ability to tell which category something falls into and then treat it accordingly. It's how the monk stays on course.
Exactly. It's an incredible framework, a system built entirely on internal resilience.
It is. So now we shift from the philosophy to the really provocative, practical application of it all. How do you make sure the teachers you follow, or the ones you decide to reject, are actually living by these pillars?
This is where the author gives this incredibly detailed, almost forensic guide. It's called Monk's Behavior in Details. We're moving from abstract ideas to concrete, actionable tests to spot authenticity in the spiritual marketplace.
And this is where thinking like a monk becomes a tool for self-protection.
Yes.
The first test is striking because it just completely challenges our modern idea of success, which is all about influence and followers. Let's call it the followers test.
A real monk, according to this source, needs no or zero followers.
That's a radical statement in the age of influencers.
It is. And the reason is key. A real monk knows the importance of others' person time, which is a very precious thing in the world. They respect your individual journey too much to demand that you spend your precious time following them.
Whereas the fake monk needs lots of follower and attention, and they let their followers just blindly follow their path.
Which, the author argues, shows a fundamental lack of respect for the time and the unique path of those other persons. It's an efficiency critique, but it's also a spiritual indictment. If time is the supreme guru, a fake monk is a time thief.
That lines up perfectly with the self-empowerment theme. If you're just blindly following someone, you're giving up your own responsibility to develop your own discernment.
Precisely.
Okay, the second test is about the teaching itself, originality versus just repetition. The teachings test.
This is where the author demands that a legend creates wisdom. They don't just recite it. A fake monk, he observes, will teach lesson to their follower that already written in the great holy books, the Gita, the Quran, the Bible, and so on.
They're just repeaters, conduits for ancient texts.
Right. But the real monk, the legend in training, talks about his own perspective, which is not written in any book. They create their own identity as their unique personality. It demands genuine personal distillation of truth.
And he gives historical examples.
A powerful list. Gautama Buddha, who created a new path beyond the established rituals of his time. Vardhamana Mahavira, Tulsidas, Saint Sai Baba, Kabir Das.
They didn't just study old knowledge, they generated new, applicable insights that became the wisdom for future generations.
And the author laments that this type of monk is less in number today.
It's a challenging standard. It means spiritual leaders should be philosophical innovators, not just historical curators.
Now we get to the tests that are probably the most controversial in a modern context. The physical and material signs, the physicality and lifestyle tests.
Well, let's start with the most visceral one, the body structure test. The author explicitly warns against a monk who is fatty in body structure.
Yeah.
He claims that monk has fallen on food of attraction.
Okay, this is a point that needs careful analysis. It seems, on the surface, to be judging appearances. But we have to look at it through the lens of Pillar 3, discipline, and Pillar 1, detachment.
So the author sees the physical body as a symptom of a deeper spiritual failure.
I think so. It's not a moral judgment on weight itself, but a diagnostic tool for discipline. If a monk is preaching mastery over desire, but they can't master the basic physical desire for food, their entire philosophy is compromised at the most fundamental level.
Okay, that makes sense.
So a real monk is expected to have a healthy and slim body structure. It reflects the physical discipline needed to sustain the mental intensity of this life. It shows they aren't a slave to basic sensory gratification.
Then there's the communication style test. This goes right back to the stillness pillar.
Real monks, the source says, skipped himself for talking too much. They value silence. They speak with precision and purpose.
Which is the exact opposite of the modern spiritual hustle where you have to create content constantly, which means talking nonstop.
Precisely. The fake monk, on the other hand, talked too much, which has no meaning in real life, in practical way. Their speech is just noise, not wisdom. They can't discern what's valuable, so their output is just distraction.
And the possessions test is maybe the easiest one to spot, rejecting luxury.
Fake monks live a luxurious life. They build up wealth, comforts. The real monk lives a simple and common life with only some necessary thing.
And he's specific about what to avoid.
Very specific. Things that signal status or are just for attraction. Jewelry, expensive cloth, watch, expensive mobile in today's digital world.
If a teacher is attached to those status symbols, they fundamentally failed the detachment test. Their focus is still external. It's about how the world sees them, not their internal mastery.
And finally, there's this incredibly modern and pragmatic view on tradition. This is the adaptability test.
Right. The author is all for real monks who update himself with time as it passes. He doesn't want them living in classical or traditional ways or static way.
This is such a crucial instruction for staying relevant. It's a profound acknowledgement that for wisdom to be useful, it has to evolve.
His belief is firm. Change is a part of life, so everyone has to change with new generation to be in balanced ways.
Wisdom can't be a museum piece. It has to be a living, breathing, applicable framework. And this adaptability is what keeps the whole system from collapsing into a rigid, impractical ideology.
Okay, so we've got the philosophy and we've got the behavioral manual for spotting fakes. Now the author moves to the central and I think most challenging practical application for you, the listener, a mandatory personal experiment.
This is the ultimate deep swim. It requires a massive commitment of time, and it's designed to forge that legend mind. The author makes a direct, unapologetic suggestion. You need to go through a monk phase.
And we are not talking about a weekend retreat. The request is substantial. Live alone for in about 1 to 3 years like monk is living in the world. Let's be practical. For most people listening, 1 to 3 years of intentional solitude sounds completely impossible. You've got mortgages, families, careers,
Social obligations.
life. Exactly. So how are we supposed to approach this extreme mandate?
Well, it's definitely not a casual suggestion. I think we have to see it not as a literal prescription for every single person, but as the blueprint for maximum internalization.
So it's the ideal scenario.
It's the ideal. The author is saying if you want the absolute highest level of self-mastery, this is the kind of time investment it takes. It's a spiritual crash course designed to force you to be self-reliant.
And what's the promised result? What's the transformation at the end of this intensive period?
He guarantees that by living this disciplined, solitary life, you will become monk and start to think like monk and observe the earth and find your own universal rule to lead your own life.
So you write your own constitution for living.
You do. This quality time, away from all the external noise, is presented as resilience training. It prepares you to lead your life successfully, specifically in bad situation.
This brings us right back to the core theme of the book, self-reliance, rejecting external dependence. The author really stresses working on your self-mind.
Absolutely. The foundational belief is that God provides a common brain to all persons. And because of that, it's your personal duty to work on your self-mind to build or develop own view as neutral attitude.
You have the tool, you just have to do the work.
Exactly. Which is why there's no need to follow blindly any fake monk or saints. Following them is just outsourcing the duty of your own mind.
And this leads right into his sharp analysis of the difference between temporary motivation and lasting internal power. He calls it the motivation trap versus self-empowerment.
He describes external motivation, the kind you get from speakers, seminars, that kind of thing, is fleeting. It lasts for some days.
You get that temporary emotional high.
Right, but after a few weeks, you again come to your own position where once more need motivation to do work. It creates this cycle of dependency, an addiction to external validation and temporary energy fixes.
It's like constantly needing a jump start for your car instead of just fixing the alternator. It's not sustainable. You're just a consumer of motivation, not a producer of action.
And the monk phase, or at least internalizing those 5 pillars, is the cure for that dependency. Living alone, mastering those internal states. It builds true self-empowerment, a state where there is no need of someone to empower you.
The motivation is generated from within, sustainably.
Continuously.
So this internal charging station is the ultimate prize. The final outcome of this intensive period is that you charge up your soul with body. What does that alignment actually grant you?
Total operational freedom. This internal alignment means no one stop you to do any work. Think about it. You've eliminated the internal resistance, the monkey mind. You've eliminated the external dependency, the fake monks and motivation hits. And you've eliminated the fear of outcome through detachment.
You become free.
This transformation frees you from being a slave of any fake monk who wastes your time and your important work, which Gandhi paid as money for him. You become the autonomous, purpose-driven legend you wanted to be, guided only by your own rules for living.
It's the ultimate liberation, really. Freedom from fear, freedom from desire, and freedom from needing anyone else's permission to act.
That's the goal.
So what does this all mean? We've just done a really deep dive into SKR's blueprint for cultivating profound wisdom. We went from detachment and stillness, through discipline and service, all the way to discernment, and finally, self-empowerment.
And the entire path is designed to free you, the individual, from all forms of external dependence. Even, and this is key, dependence on charismatic teachers.
The central takeaway for me is that recognition of time as the supreme guru. It demands this ruthless efficiency in your pursuit of wisdom.
And that 1 to 3 year monastic phase, whether you take it literally or just as a metaphor for deep, serious commitment, is the crucible. It's what's required to forge that authentic, self-empowered identity.
The value isn't in following the monk, it's in finding your own universal rule for living with clarity and freedom.
The Legend Mind isn't just about abstract thinking. It's about structured action that leads to permanent transformation.
To leave you with a concrete starting point, the author gives a single practice question for you to implement. We want to end this deep dive with a challenge for you, the listener, right now.
Based on everything we've discussed, the principles of discipline and stillness.
What is one single daily habit you can cultivate this week to bring a monk-like discipline to your life? Go find that answer for yourself and start building your own universal rule.